नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः नमो पंकजनाभाय नमो पंकजमालिनी नमो पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रहे हरे कृष्ण। Today the title of the topic is To Err is Human, to Forgive is Divine. We are going to discuss the subject of Daksha Prajapati. So how he performed a great sacrifice and how his daughter Sati gave up her body and how Shiva got angry and how Daksha later repented for everything. So गलती तो हम लोग करते हैं, बाद में we just repent. So गलती करना is human nature, but Shiva forgave him. So that is the divinity. So I connected this to this topic. Hope the title was appropriate. We will be, of course, discussing this with reference to how Sati came into being, because suddenly talking about Sati without giving the background may not be proper. So I have just taken this actually the episode of Daksha performing a great sacrifice comes in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. There are 31 chapters and in this canto, and all of them describe the secondary creation by Brahma, the first living creature of the universe, and of Manus and other progenitors of living entities. So when we talk of Manu, we talk of first Manu, Swayambhuva Manu. Swayambhuva Manu is the first Manu, no? Paramdayal Prabhu? Of course, there are 14 Manus, and then first of them is Swayambhuva Manu. So Swayambhuva Manu is a son of Brahma and great devotee of the Lord. Now he had 3 daughters, Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti, and 2 sons, Uttanpada and Priyavrata. We will be actually, the first chapter gives description of Swayambhuva's descendants, his daughters and sons, and out of 31 chapters, the remaining 6 chapters talk about Daksha's yajna, his sacrifice, and his daughter Sati giving up her life, her body, and how Shiva gets angry, and then how Daksha repents later. So there are, we are going to discuss 7 chapters. So we have to be a little fast because otherwise we may not have sufficient time. Time permitting, we will also discuss about the lessons from this story. That is actually very important. We must find time for that. So talking about Daksha's daughters, first one was Akuti. Akuti was married to Prajapati Ruchi. Now there was a condition in this marriage by Swayambhava Manu himself. He said, the first son that you get out of this marriage should be handed over to me. There was a condition of the marriage itself. Because Swayambhava Manu knew that the first son is going to be Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he wanted that son to be taken care by him. Though he had two sons, so still he put this condition that the son should be given to me. Of course, they had 12 sons. Out of that, only one son, his name was Yajna. Yajna was given back to Swayambhava Manu. Now, Yajna and one more daughter called Dakshina, they were born together. And Dakshina was a partial expansion of Goddess Lakshmi. And so ultimately, though they were born as sisters from the same mother's womb, they got married to each other. And in all, they had 12 sons, and they all became demigods. Collectively, they are called as Tushitas. And Yajna himself later on took the post of Indra. So this is briefly about Akuti and Prajapati Ruchi. Next is Devahuti. Devahuti is married to Kardama Muni, and Kardama Muni had also put a condition that after getting a child, he will not stay at home. He will take Vanavasashram and he will become a sannyasi. He's actually a sadhu himself, but there was a condition, and they got in one union itself, they got 9 daughters. So it said Kardama Muni discharged his semen 9 times, and they got 9 daughters. And later on, Devahuti requested Kardama Muni for a son, because she was saying, if these daughters will all go after marriage, how will I live? And you also leave home and then go, and how will I live? So on that plea, Kardama Muni gave her a son called Lord Kapiladev. So if you see, all these 3 girls had a Supreme Personality of Godhead appearing in their families, in their womb. So Kapildev was the plenary expansion of Lord Vishnu. So they all had the Supreme Personality of God appearing in the family. Now, these 9 daughters of Kardama Muni were given to 9 sages. Can you imagine the situation then? Because the intention was to generate population, populate the universe, and the population should be from a good breed. So it had to be given to the sages. So sages, they have studied the scriptures, and naturally the offshoot will be good. So with that intention, Brahma advised him. So he gave all his daughters to sages. One to Marichi, one to Atri, one to Angira, one to Pulastya, one to Pulaha, the other one to Kratu, Prigu, Vasishtha, and Atharva. So these 9 daughters have been given to 9 sages. The last one was Prasuti. So Daksha actually had 16 daughters, and Prasuti was married to Daksha Prajapati. And Daksha Prajapati himself is son of Lord Brahma. So out of 16 daughters, 13 were given in marriage to Kashyapa. And one of them was Diti. From Diti's womb, we all know Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha came. And the other daughter was Murti, mother of Naranaran Rishi. So here also, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared. The 14th daughter was married to Agni, and there are 48 children, fire gods, came from this 14th daughter, and including Agni himself, there are 49 fire gods. And 15th was married to Pitraloka, and 16th was Sati. So Sati, we are interested in Sati because Sati got married to Lord Shiva. So just to bring about how Sati came in the picture, so I have given this brief details. So Sati also, Daksha Prajapati also asked all his daughters where they would like to get married. So Sati preferred to get married to Lord Shiva. So on that basis, Daksha Maharaj married Sati to Lord Shiva. But of course, Lord Brahma also advised him to do that. But although Shiva was he was faultless, but his father-in-law, Daksha, always used to criticize him, sometimes unnecessarily, sometimes necessarily, because Shiva also behaved like that. Shiva, he was always saying, Daksha used to complain, Shiva acted very unconventionally, and he presented a poor appearance, and he did not even have a house for himself, construct a residence for himself. So which father of a daughter will tolerate this? So it's quite natural for a father to complain about it. But then many times used to do it unnecessarily. That's what it is said here. So this was happening. So once what happened was the leaders of Universal created this universal creation, performed a yajna, a sacrifice, great sacrifice, where all great sages, including demigods, fire gods, etc., were assembled with their followers. And Brahma and Shiva also were also invited. They were present. And when Daksha, the leader of the Prajapatis, when he entered the assembly, everybody got up out of respect, including Brahma. Now, what happened was Shiva was meditating on the Supreme Lord because he is the greatest Vaishnava. And then he did not notice Daksha's arrival. He was totally involved in that. Not like us. While chanting, we look at the mobiles. So in his case, he was totally involved. He did not even notice Daksha's arrival to the assembly. So this offended Daksha, and he spoke very strongly against Lord Shiva. He criticized him. He said, Lord Shiva he has polluted the path of gentle manners, and by doing so, he is spoiling the reputation of demigods. Because he is shameless, he does not know how to behave. So very strong words. So then he said, he married my daughter, he has married my daughter, and therefore he is subordinate to me. and he must give me respect. His eyes were actually like monkeys. But nevertheless, because Brahma advised me to do that, I gave my beautiful daughter to him in marriage, though he did not deserve her. So he is devoid of cleanliness and does not have good behavior. And he said he lives in filthy places like crematoriums, and his companions are all ghosts and demons. Many times he is naked like a madman. Sometimes he laughs, sometimes he cries, and he smears crematorium ashes all over his body and decorates himself with garlands made of skulls and bones. Though his name is Shiva, which means auspicious, he is not at all auspicious. That auspiciousness is in his name only. So, saying all these things, Daksha washed his hands out of disgust and mouth, and looking at Shiva very angrily, he cursed Shiva, saying, the demigods are eligible to their share in the oblations of sacrifice, but Lord Shiva, who is the lowest of all demigods, should no longer receive a share of the political offering, the sacrificial offerings. And saying this, after cursing this, he walked away. Did not wait for anybody's reactions, he just walked away. But along with Shiva, Nandishwara and other followers of Shiva were also present there. So Nandishwara could not tolerate this. Though Shiva was calm and he was not saying anything, and he left Daksha to his fate, he says, what does it matter? He's saying something, let him say. So he was quite calm, but Nandishwara could not tolerate. He became very angry and he cursed Daksha. He said, whoever, due to envy, has accepted Daksha to be more important than Lord Shiva will become bereft of all transcendental knowledge. Because Daksha is simply attached to his body and sex indulgence and is devoid of any intelligence, within a short time he will receive a face of a goat. So he cursed him like that. And he also cursed the Brahmanas and others who tolerated Daksha's behavior. He said, let them beg for money by going door to door, simply for the purpose of gratifying their senses. So this was a curse to Brahmanas and other followers. So angered by this, what happened was the sage Prabhu was there. He again counter-cursed Nandishwara. And he said, you all, including Shiva, become atheists. So when this kind of curses and counter-curses were going on, Shiva became very morose and left the arena of sacrifice, followed by his disciples without saying anything. So they all walked out. This sacrifice went on for 1 full year. 1,000 years. Not 1 full year, 1,000 years. Yeah. And the Brahmanas, after taking bath at the confluence of Ganga and Yamuna, they left that place. So what happened later, this Daksha was appointed as the chief of all Prajapatis. He was puffed up. So he wanted to start another sacrifice named Brahaspati Sava. So many Brahmarshis, great sages, demigods were invited, and they attended this sacrifice with their wives from different parts of the universe. But Lord Shiva was not invited. because he was upset with him. He was not invited. So Sati heard this from some source because she saw aeroplanes going over her head. Yeah, and they were all talking about Daksha's sacrifice. She came to know from them, from their talks. And she felt a great desire that though they were not invited, she should go and she should enjoy with her parents and sisters, relatives, because for quite some time she did not go to her Maike. She was not in a position to go at all. And she also wanted to wear jewelry and good saris and jewelry is given by her father. So she wanted to do a little bit of show off and attend this function, which is normally liked by ladies. So she said, due to our family feud, I have not visited my father's house for such a long time, and I'm anxious to see my relatives. And she's told Shiva that I know you are very exalted and do not care for these social functions, but I'm a poor woman, and so I want to go. How can a daughter miss such a big function at father's house, at her father's house? Quite natural for her to say that, feel that way. She said, even though we are not invited, there's nothing wrong in going to the house of a friend, husband, spiritual master, or father, even if you are not invited, without an invitation. So she requested Shiva to please make up his mind to go with her and fulfill her desire. Although Shiva understood his wife's desire, but the Daksha's malicious remarks against him were echoing in his ears. And he said, my beautiful wife, it's true, there is nothing wrong in going to a friend's house or a father's house. Yeah, but even without invitation. But see the situation here. This is only true if a friend does not find faults with the one and become angry. But in our case, Daksha is upset with us and he has found fault with me. So this is not a proper time or occasion for us to go unless there is a patch-up. There is no patch-up. So if you go, there will be a problem for sure. She said it's a fact that education, austerity, wealth, beauty, youth, and family heritage are desirable qualities. But if one becomes proud because of possessing them, he loses all good sense and cannot appreciate the glories of spiritual exalted personalities. He is telling this to Daksha. So Daksha was very proud of his youth, beauty, family heritage, etc. But then he did not know how to respect the spiritually exalted personalities. Shiva told her that she should not go because she is though she is the most beloved daughter among the daughters of Daksha, because she is the last one, 16th daughter. Always there is the parents love more, give more love to the last one. So But then he said, you will not be honored. You will not be honored in his house because you are my wife, not because of any other reason, but you are my wife. And he doesn't like me. So when you go there, and that is the reason why I have not been invited. So in spite of that, if you go, then you will not receive any respect. And he said, although he is the giver of your body, because he and his followers are envious of me, and they have insulted me with cruel words, although I am innocent, you should not go. This is what he said. And then he said, in spite of my instruction, you want to go, you decide to go, then I must warn you that for a respectable person like you, insult from a relative is equal to death. Then Shiva became quiet, did not want to speak anything more than that. Now Sati was anxious on one hand. She wanted to somehow go to this function at her father's place. On the other hand, there's an instruction from husband. He is not happy. So she got completely bewildered. She was afraid of Shiva's warning. Her mind was unsettled and she started going in and out. But apparently she was very much upset and breathing heavily because of anger. She left. She left the house on her way to Daksha's place, and this they call it as womanly weakness. What is the womanly weakness? Women cannot tolerate anything said against their against their parents, sisters, brothers, their family. Whatever may be the respect they have for the husband, but if husband says something bad against her family, they don't like it. So this is the weakness of the woman, womanly weakness. So she said, I am going. So when she thus left, what happened was, Shiva's devotees, Shiva's followers, they are ready to give their life for Shiva. So when Sati left the house in this mood, their followers followed her, particularly Maniman and Bull Nandi. They reached Daksha's palace, but except her mother and sisters, no one welcomed her because of fear of Daksha. Otherwise, they would have spoken to her, behaved well, but they were scared of Daksha. So they knew Daksha's mind. And that's the reason Daksha did not invite them. But Sati did not reciprocate with any one of them. So they were trying to smile at her and with a mood of reception, that is mother and sisters, they wanted to probably talk to her. But since her father did not say a word or did not invite, did not even ask about her welfare, she was upset. She did not speak to anybody. She also noticed that Shiva's share in the oblations were not kept. Shiva did not, though he is the exalted personality, one of the demigods, main demigods, his share of on the oblations were not given. So this offended her. After all, Shiva is her husband. How can Daksha do this? In spite of the warning, she had gone, but when she saw the reality there, she really felt she should not have come. And she became very angry. And upon seeing her mood, the followers of Shiva, they actually wanted to kill Daksha. They were ready to kill Daksha, but Sati said, no, nothing doing. Keep quiet. I will handle the situation. So she said, within the hearing of all assembled there, she chastised her father while praising Shiva, whom personalities like Brahma gave great respect. She said, you do not know what Shiva's position is. Even personalities like Brahma respect him because Shiva is the foremost personality and is loved by all due to his being free from enmity. He doesn't hate anybody. He has no enemies. It is only you who could be envious of him. Your only business is to find fault with somebody else. Whereas Lord Shiva is magnified. He magnifies whatever quality, good quality he sees in others, not like you. Do you think Brahma is a fool? He accepts the flowers offered at the lotus feet of Shiva and places them on his head with great respect. So he's not a fool. If one hears, she says, if one hears the blasphemy of the Lord or his representative, he should block his ears and go away if he is unable to punish the offender. But if one is able to, then he should forcibly cut the blasphemer's tongue, and then after killing him, he should give up his own life. So this is what we are also told. We cannot be tolerating anybody insulting Krishna or saying something bad about Krishna, or for that matter, even Guru Maharaj. You have to either leave that place immediately or punish him, deal with him appropriately, even to the extent of killing him. And you kill yourself, because killing is not permitted normally. So she said to Daksha, since you are my father, and because others might accuse me, not me, accuse my husband of having employed me to do what he could not, I will not kill you. Because otherwise you may put the blame on my husband, good husband. He is respected in all universes. So otherwise you will think that he has sent me to do his job. So I will not kill you. Instead, I will give up this abominable body that I have received from you. I am ashamed to call myself as your daughter and my bodily relationship with you. So saying this, he said, my dear father, the opulence of Lord Shiva is impossible for you or your flatterers to imagine. I'm very ashamed of my bodily relationship with you because you are an offender at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. Now I will give up my body that I had received from you. After saying this, Sati, who was dressed in saffron cloth, saris, sat on the ground facing north. After purifying herself by touching water, she closed her eyes and began to absorb her mind in meditation upon the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. She then gradually raised her live fire to between her eyebrows and meditated upon the fiery air that is within her body. As a result, she became engulfed in the blazing fire, and in this way she gave up her body, the body that her father had given her. She did this so that she could have another birth that would allow her uncontaminated association with the Lord, with her Lord Shiva. So when this happened, when Sati gave up her body, the followers of Shiva wanted to kill Daksha. But Bhrigu Muni, who was there, he averted this with his Brahminical power. So he quickly offered oblations into the southern side of the sacrificial fire, chanting mantras from Yajurveda for counteracting those who tried to disrupt the sacrificial performances. Instantly, thousands of demigods named Ribus appeared from the fire and attacked Lord Shiva's followers with half-burnt wood from the sacrificial fire. Thousands. And Shiva's followers were not so many. So they retracted. They could not stand before them, and they began fleeing from all directions. When Lord Shiva came to know of this, when they went back and reported, Lord Shiva could not balance himself. And particularly when he heard Sati committed a suicide and his followers got defeated at the hands of Ribus, he became furious. He decided to kill Daksha in retaliation. So what he did, he snatched a hair from his head, dashed the blazing hair into the ground, and as a result, a fearful black demon named Virabhadra was created, who was as tall as the sky and had 1,000 powerful arms. Wearing a garland of human heads, he stood before Shiva for his orders. And Shiva knew that Virabhadra is also angry. And Shiva was anyway angry. And he ordered Virabhadra, go and kill Daksha and destroy his sacrifice. So Virabhadra immediately circumambulated Lord Shiva and departed with many of Shiva's followers. And because of the dust raised by them while walking, the assembly at Daksha's sacrificial arena became little dark. They could perceive the darkness. They all wondered what could be. Some people said this something, some people said something. But then Prasuti could make out that something has really gone wrong, because she was Sati's mother, and she said this dangerous condition is a result of Daksha's insulting behavior, which caused Sati to give up her body, as we all looked on. So something is the reaction of that, and something is happening. As they were all discussing and being in distress, Lord Shiva's followers came there, surrounded the sacrificial arena, and began to create disturbance. Maniman captured the chief priest, Prabhu, and Virabhadra arrested Daksha. They took revenge for the previous insulting behaviors by tearing off Prabhu's moustache, pulling out Bhaga's eyes, knocking out Daksha's and Pusha's teeth, etc. And finally, Virabhadra sat down on Daksha's chest and cut off his head and threw it into the sacrificial fire, thus destroying Daksha's sacrifice. They set fire to the whole arena and left for Kailash. The sacrifice got stopped. Having been defeated and injured by Shiva's soldiers, the Brahmanas and demigods, as usual, when such things happen, they go to Brahma because they have to have somebody to complain to. So they went to Brahma because they cannot do anything on their own. Daksha was killed. His head was separated. So they went to Brahma. Brahma could make out. And that was the reason both Brahma and Vishnu, they could foresee the possible situation in this sacrifice, and they did not attend the function. So when these people went to Brahma, Brahma could make out that something has seriously gone wrong, as we all thought. And then Brahma actually glorified Lord Shiva and chastised them with such a personality. Your behavior was really unexpected. Ultimately, he had to lead a delegation to Lord Brahma because the Brahmanas and demigods who were there had to be saved. So he led a delegation to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was actually sitting under a large banyan tree, surrounded by great souls like Narada, Kuvera, and four Kumaras. And he could immediately make out Brahma with his delegation came there. So he could make out that Brahma has come for this purpose only, but he kept quiet. After the exchange of pleasantries and praises from Lord Brahma, praises for Shiva, Lord Brahma quietly broached the subject and requested Lord Shiva to be merciful to Daksha, the Brahmanas, and the demigods who got bewildered by the influence of Maya. He said they got bewildered by the influence of Maya. So you please excuse them. He told Shiva, you are the shareholders of the sacrificial offerings, but these foolish priests neglected you. And as a result, you destroyed everything. Now that the sacrifice is unfinished, please do something. Please do the needful to restore it and take your rightful share. Let Daksha get back his life, Prabhu his moustache, Bhaga his eyes, and Pusha his teeth. In addition, let the Brahmanas and who have been injured by your soldiers become healed by your grace. So Lord Shiva replied, my dear father, I do not mind the childish offenses of the less intelligent demigods. I have punished them just to bring them back to the right path. Since Daksha's head has already been burnt to ashes, he shall now have the head of a goat. And Bhaga will be able to see through the eyes of Mitra. Pusha will be able to chew only through the teeth of his disciples. And Bhragu will be able to get his mustache from the goat's head that is given to Daksha. So demigods and priests who have agreed to give my share from their from the sacrificial offerings, they will recover from their injuries. However, those whose arms were severed will have to work with the arms of Ashwini Kumaras, and those whose hands were cut off will have to work with hands of Pusha. So some makeshift arrangement has been made by Lord Shiva. So everybody was satisfied. They had no other go but to be satisfied with this arrangement. And thereafter, Prabhu invited Lord Shiva to come to the sacrificial arena. Thus Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma and all the demigods and sages went to the place where sacrifice had been demolished. So under Lord Shiva's direction, Daksha's body was joined with the head of a goat that was to have been offered as a sacrifice. And as soon as goat's head was joined, Daksha regained consciousness and he saw Shiva standing before him. Daksha could not speak because he was reminded of Sati's leaving the body. So he was very much agonized, very much sorry for the whole episode, and he could not speak. Later, somehow regained his posture, his composure, and he specified his mind. And with great endeavor, he offered his prayers. He said, "My Lord, my dear Lord," he prays to Shiva, "I committed great offense, but you are so kind that instead of withdrawing your mercy, you exhibited your great favor by punishing me and thus brought me to my right consciousness. I did not know your glories, and thus I criticized you in the assembly of demigods and rishis." So after he said this, Lord Shiva pardoned him. Daksha took permission from the Lord and resumed performance of the sacrifice after purification of the sacrificial arena. As Daksha offered ghee as mantras from Yajurveda were being chanted, Lord Vishnu appeared there. So Lord Vishnu also appeared because after this, after the sacrifice was offered, because he is the Yajneshwara. So he appeared there riding upon the shoulders of Garuda. All the demigods and sages offered their dandavats, including Brahma and Lord Shiva. So everybody offered their prayers with awe and reverence. Everybody accepted their faults and glorified the Supreme Lord to the best of their abilities. Lord Shiva also offered prayers and said, because my mind and consciousness is always fixed upon your lotus feet, I am no longer disturbed by persons blaspheming me. Lord Vishnu told Daksha, "O twice born, I am the original cause of all causes. But because I expand myself to act through my material energy, my different representations are variously named. Thus, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are not different from me." Daksha thereafter worshipped Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma individually, and respective shares of prasada he gave them and satisfied them. And after giving up her body, Sati was born as the daughter of Menaka and the king of Himalayas. Later, she once again accepted Lord Shiva as her husband, since that is their eternal relationship. Now, from this story, what are the lessons to be learned? You can unmute, or you can probably put your messages if you like. If you have any messages from this story, you can come out and say. Good, there are 12 devotees participating. Anyway, so if there are none, I have picked up some lessons. I don't know whether you all agree, but lesson number 1, if you are not happy and do not agree to do something under somebody's advice, then you should plainly say, I don't agree. Once you accept the advice, you should stand by it. In this case, Sati had personally chosen Lord Shiva. Complaints of Daksha may be genuine, but he should have thought about it before giving his daughter to Daksha. After giving his daughter in marriage, though it was her choice, you should not be murmuring and talking ill about the son-in-law. And because of that, all these problems occurred, because he was not keeping a good relationship with his son-in-law. The second lesson I thought was, pride does not build bridges in relationships. Daksha was proud, and because of that, this whole episode happened. Pride only breaks the existing bridges. One expects respect from other when he is proud, and if that respect does not come about, for whatever reason, he gets upset. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Sikshastrakam says, Sranadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saishnana Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya. He says, you should give respect. You should not expect respect from others. So when you are proud, we cannot do this. So third lesson I thought was, even when one intensely feels that he or she has genuine desire to do something, but the elders at home do not support you, giving reasons for their saying so, and you are bewildered, it is safe to accept the advice of the elders, because they have seen this world and they sincerely feel that it will be in your interest. If Sati had accepted Shiva's advice, the whole episode could have been avoided. Anyway, this is Lord's wish, because Sati anyway had to leave her body and she had to join Lord Shiva as Parvati. So we can't say anything about it, but apparently it looks like that. So we must accept seniors' advice. When you are bewildered particularly, you must go by the elders' advice, because they have seen this world. Next lesson is, material world is full of miseries. Higher planets are no exceptions. Demigods also have desires, and when desires do not get fulfilled, they also get angry. Lord Shiva also got angry when Sati had to leave her body, though he did not react to Daksha's Prajapati's blasphemy. Blasphemy he tolerated. But in his wife, when he lost his wife, when his wife left her body, he could not tolerate. He became angry. So anger is universal. Next is, once you fix your consciousness on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, blasphemy does not disturb you. This is what Shiva says. I do not know how many of us are in this stage, but it is worth pondering about. If you completely surrender and fix your mind on the consciousness, mind and consciousness on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, then the blasphemy does not affect you. I don't know. One has to try. The last one, which is related to the title today, to err is human, but to forgive is divine, is a saying. We see this actually happening in this story. Daksha says at the end, I committed a great offense. But instead of withdrawing your mercy, you only punish me to bring me back into my right consciousness. So Shiva pardoned him, he forgave him, in spite of the behavior of Daksha, because of his pride. So I thought there are 6 lessons we could take from this story. Any comments? Any questions?
Hare Krishna Guruji, Dandavat Guruji.
Dandavad Pranam.
We enjoyed that pastime, Guruji. Again, this is I like this Daksha pastime very much. I could hear from you narrating.
Oh, how did I come to know?
Yeah.
I did not know that you liked it.
Yeah, I like this. This is a big lesson for all of us, no?
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Short notice prepared, Guruji. Short notice. So, there will be a very short notice. Prepared very nicely.
I was getting ready, so I had partly prepared it. So gave the final touch up a little later.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very nice class, Puji. Thank you. Very beautifully explained. The full chapter, the full pastime, very nicely explained, and the lessons were brilliant. I think it's very important lessons for all of us to meditate on.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice of you. And it is because of your great mercy, we are getting an opportunity to speak sometime, taking the baby steps, as I said. Maybe.
I think you're doing really well. I think you all should give more often.
Thank you so much for your appreciation. That will keep us going, I'm sure. Correct. Thank you, Prabhu, Vikram Prabhu. Thank you. Your presentation yesterday was also very nice. In fact, I was more closer to that, close on your heels, because you can hardly delete anything out of what Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written, because without sacrificing the details, if you have to summarize it, it's very difficult. But you did a wonderful job. I'm happy that I was there in the meeting yesterday to hear that. Thank you, Vikram Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Very nice.
At the last, you have very well explained yesterday that we cannot delete any of the words from the text because Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explained in detail. Actually, we don't have any
sacrificing